Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Nigeria Chambers from Big Gold Belt
And
Media. It's
Nigeria.
an absolute honor to speak to you three about the new film, The Space Race, which is going to be available February 12th. How are you gentlemen doing today?
We're grading you.
Pretty good.
Doing well, very well. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you three. I gotta tell you, I'm still kind of pinching myself because the later part of last year, I got to meet Jose Hernandez, and I was just like, no way. And to think now I got an opportunity to talk to you three, I'm just kind of just I'm just mind blown. I just never would have thought this would occur, and yet so soon. And for the little kid in me that always dreamed of being an astronaut, and I'll talk about the movie in a second, but just how relatable it was to you three as well in the moments of that idea, and was it actually tangible? Was it possible? And to see you three all achieve it in different aspects, but yet inspire generations. And what a beautiful thing, as we know that analogy, crabs in a barrel. But you all continue throughout your journeys, throughout your life, throughout everything you've done, continue to hold your hand back for the next generation to come. And for that, you three are absolute legends, icons, and this movie, this documentary is beyond important for many generations to come. So I just want to start by saying thank you three for everything that you have done to this point.
Thank you, Najir.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Now, you gentlemen talked about a lot of important things in this documentary, but the one thing and one word that I know I did not mention, or phrase, shall I say, that I did not mention was mental health. And I want to talk about that just a little bit here because while it clearly was a huge focus to everything, through all the ups and downs with you three's respective careers and the society forever around all of us oppressing. I want to start off by asking, what were some of the tools and strategies that you three have used and continue to use to get through?
Yeah,
That's
I'm happy to start if that's okay. So, I actually had a mentee come to me one day on Johnson Space Center and say, the short version, in a quick passing in the hallway, how you doing? What you up to? Well, we're going to a march this weekend. What you doing? Okay, I'm going to tear down a statue, and then I'm also going to record it for social media. And so obviously we were now engaged in a very deep conversation. And I mentioned to this person my thoughts on that, and then we parted ways. And then I went upstairs and I bumped into my supervisor, and I said, "Hey, being an astronaut who also has this ethnic, component to it, I've got a lot of mentees that need help that's different than what a lot of other folks on this campus might need. And I need some help. I need some help in doing that and being a good mentor. I need some more mentors myself." And my supervisor, a white man in his 60s, said to me, "Hey, Victor, this is something I understand a little bit, but here," he said, the biggest thing I can suggest to you is to contact Stephanie Wilson and maybe reach out to Bernard Harris." And that started a series of conversations and lunches and dinners that wound up in all of us being a collective body that helped each other. And you talk about mental health. During COVID, my flight launched, and I was in space, and my family and I were dealing with that. And this group, we use this term, the Astronauts, but this group of people with a very like context was able to support me and my family. And we're trying to be that for our colleagues who are going, Jeanette and Stephanie, that is a really special group of people with an experience base that just there's nobody else that knows what that's like for your family or you. And that's what it was about. COVID reminded us how important it is to have a community, collective, the human organism. Homo sapiens are a social primate species. We have been successful not because of our intellect. A lot of people think it's because of our intellect. Yes, we created the iPhone and Windows, but we were able to stave off disease and have houses and food because we're collective. And so our survival has been because of our working together. And this was a reminder. And even though the COVID pandemic still affecting us, but not in the same way it was in 2019 and 2020, I'm reminded that we need that check-in. We need somebody that can hold us accountable. We need somebody we can gripe and complain to. We need somebody who, when they check you and say, hey, actually, that don't sound like a problem on the outside. That sounds like a problem with you. You take it seriously because you trust them. And so all of those aspects were important to me in my mission. And this group was a big part of that.
Amazing. Amazing. How about you, Leland?
Victor, as always, Victor nails it so eloquently. So there's not much more that I can say, except that when I was going through some trials and tribulations after a training accident at the NASA Johnson Space Center as neutral buoyancy lab, where I lost my hearing, there were a community of people that came together. I was depressed. I was sad. I was like, what's going to happen to me? Because the doctors were telling me I would never fly in space. But there were people that came around me that lifted me up, they picked me up, they were there. They weren't necessarily there before because they didn't think I needed that, but they saw when there was a need, they came and they prayed for me, they lifted me up, they were there. And so I think, as Victor mentioned about COVID, we realized that people needed so much more connection after COVID than we've had historically. And not only just connection with people, but connection to the ground, connection to the universe, connection. We're all made of stardust. We're all made the same. And however we can get connected with the universe better, people and the planet, is really what helps lead you to a better state of mental health. It's critical.
Absolutely. And for you, the icon, Ed, how about your take on this?
That's a fascinating question. The situation that I was in was really, really different because up to the point of my getting involved with the space activities, I wasn't too much worried about mental health at large, and I wasn't worried about my own mental health because I thought pretty much my self-confidence I was doing the right thing. But it wasn't until I got into the challenge of incoming, if you want to use that kind of term, incoming, where I wasn't prepared, and so I was on the defensive throughout most of this episode that I was involved in, and obviously deeply concerned about my own mental health. I did have a couple of advice with Whitney Young. I talked to him on the phone just about every day, and the president provided me a counselor out of the West Wing that I talked to when as needed and all that kind of stuff. Ironically, now that you bring that, I never thought too much about my mental health because I was just fighting it off and calling and getting little small bits of answers about keeping myself stable throughout this whole thing. Yeah. And I didn't have a lot of respect for what I mean by that is I didn't have a lot of respect about my own ability to go around spreading the word about mental health, even though I withstood all of the stuff that they threw at me. And I survived. I was able to get up and walk around and be confident and talk to other people. But it wasn't until later, I didn't classify this as mental health, but when I was giving a lot of speeches and I was on the road and talking, and I was unwittingly giving people the word about being strong and what my mom did to me, the kind of qualities that she inculcated in me. And selfishly, it sounds crazy. I would share these things, hoping like hell that there's some kind of way. I didn't know what kind of mothers these other people had and what they were told and what good it would do to share what my mother was saying to me and what she did for me and how she allowed me to stay sane throughout this whole process. And to this day, I agonize about this idea of talking to people that do have mental issues and they're non-responsive to stimuli because of the mental issues that they come to the table with, and how to break that open, because I have a lot I have all these apprentices that I've tried to train, and a lot of it had to do with their mental ability, disability, to understand what I'm trying to explain to them, trying to coach them, but they didn't. I guess I wasn't professional enough to get it across to them so they could control the outcomes. I would say, you got to do this and do that. Then I would get frustrated and disappointed because they weren't answering the call the responsibility that I had placed on them. But I didn't put that into the can of mental health. But now that you bring it up, I guess, I guess I has a lot to do with their mental health and their capabilities, and that all ties together. And I just hadn't, I hadn't put that whole piece together.
Yeah, yeah. Gentlemen, thank you, so much for your time. Continue to inspire, getting this story out for the next generation of Black astronauts. As I mentioned, you all are legends. And for the little boys such as myself that are inspiring to chase their dreams, thank you for being that light that is achievable. I hope we get to talk again soon. And as always, folks, the space race will be available February 12th. Thank you so much.
And Niger, keep rocking that NASA shirt too.
Love this shirt. Love this shirt. Thank you, Najir.
Thank you,
Great
brothers.
talking to you.
Absolutely.